There were no podcasts when I was a baby.
If we had a time machine and we could go get baby David,
But
I held you like this.
I'm not sure the expression "I was born ready" actually refers to just one thing. It's kind of this general statement of
I'm taking it literal this morning.
I'm a ready person.
You are ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Gathering Greenhouse. I'm Steve.
I'm David.
This is David. Oh, good morning and welcome to the podcast.
I'm David.
We're excited to be here today. As usual, we are talking a little bit about hopefully something interesting, fun. I have a few questions written down. We're going to be talking a little bit about your sermon and also some extra things like how 3 services went, Easter maybe. I do have an Easter question. Are you ready to go?
Are there any more circus peanuts?
There are no circus peanuts
Then
today.
no, I'm not ready.
The thing is,
I need fuel, man.
I hear you, but I'm never going to live up to the expectation again of when I pull out the stops and I do circus peanuts, it's only downhill from there.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so we're never going to get to the point. I don't know what other things are like. What else is your circus peanut?
Fried okra.
Fried okra? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's possible. It's possible.
Lee's famous recipe fried chicken.
I thought you were going to say from Lee's. Have you ever had the fried okra at Lee's?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
It's not bad. It's kind of like French fries too. The fresher you get them, the better it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially okra. Like, have you ever tried to cook okra yourself or fry it? Okay.
Nope.
I have.
I'm northern.
Okay.
I know my limits.
Okay. Well, so me too, kind of, but it was in like a meal kit. We got the meal kit thing one time, and one of them was fried okra. Okra is super slimy.
Yeah. That's why you got to fry it.
Yeah. It's good fried, but I wouldn't want to eat it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. Like in the meal kit, was it like already breaded?
No, you had to do everything because that's the kind of the. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of meal kits, but in the meal kit that we had, it was about like fresh ingredients. I think it was called Hello Fresh.
Hi.
I think that's the one it was. But yeah.
I mean, does that feel a little bit like an oxymoron? Like it comes in a box and it's called Hello Fresh. It's like, okay, it was fresh at one point, but like when is fresh
frozen?
When is fresh no longer fresh? Like if it's coming in a box, it's just not fresh.
It's a good point there. Like, because probably the farmers market people would probably tell you, oh, that's not fresh.
Like I don't even
not from the farmers market.
I'm not even sure if you go to the grocery store. If it's just out on the produce, maybe it's still fresh. But even there, you're borderline not fresh anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm not. If it's in a box, it's not fresh. So goodbye fresh.
Goodbye fresh.
Goodbye fresh. This segment of the podcast is not sponsored by HelloFresh.
They're not going to like our review. And speaking of tangent comments, last week we talked about SNL a little bit, and then I had one of my friends who's also related to me kind of through marriage. I don't know how.
Maria?
It's not Maria. No, it's you see me wear the table sometimes.
Yep.
It's I don't know what.
I think you need to clarify that because you're not actually wearing a table.
No, I'm not.
It's a shirt.
No, it's a shirt. The table.
Right.
But my friend Joey, he watches our podcast and likes it.
Hi, Joe.
And no, Joey. He doesn't go by Joe.
Hi, Joey.
There you go. Thank you, David. He's a pastor and he planted a church and he watches our podcast, but he is a big SNL fan. And so he commented to me about I sounded grumpy when I said SNL has gone downhill. And I said, you know what, to be honest, I don't watch SNL, so I don't know if it's good or not. So I'm gonna get honest with everyone and say,
wait, does Joey think it hasn't gone downhill?
He didn't say that necessarily. He just said, do you watch it? And I'm like, you know what? To be honest, I don't watch it. So honestly, I don't know if it's gone downhill or not. In my head, I was confident in it, but then when I got called out on it, I wasn't confident anymore. I'm like, because I'm a big fan of sketch comedy.
Yeah. So if Joey thinks it hasn't gone downhill, and we're not saying he does, but it seems like maybe he does by the fact that he called you out on that.
He did. Well,
but if he does, then I question Joey's judgment in all things.
He called. No, you shouldn't. Joey's a good.
I just did.
Okay, he's a great guy. You would like him. I think you two would actually get along.
I don't doubt that he's a great guy, but great guys can have bad judgment, and if you think SNL has not gone downhill, then your judgment is up to be questioned.
All right, so here's my question then. You're a great guy too.
Right.
Where would we question your judgment?
Like, I'm a Detroit Lions fan.
Okay. Well, I'm a Browns fan too. I don't know.
The Lions are worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Deshaun Watson. What's your comeback to that?
So, okay, so this last year the Lions were better than the Browns.
Yes.
And I think this coming year the Lions will be better than the Browns.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And I think that actually trajectory-wise...
As a football optimist every year...
No. I think most people would agree with me right now.
Probably. I'm just saying I'm not one of those who might agree. My hopes are high for the Browns.
No, they shouldn't be.
They're going to be disappointed most likely.
So the Lions' trajectory is good right now, right? And the Browns is not, because Deshaun Watson was just a horrific mistake.
I don't know. Stuff I've been seeing, they've been making some of the best moves in the NFL. I'm just saying that's what I see from.
What is that, like
people.
Cleveland Browns Insider.com?
It's Browns
fanboy.
Yes. No, right. You ever heard ESPN.com?
Yeah. So historically, the Browns and the Lions are the two worst franchises in the Super Bowl era. Now you have to qualify that, right? Because
they were both fantastic teams.
Pre-Super Bowl era,
there's a reason
they were the two best.
Yeah, there's a reason Detroit is on Thanksgiving every year because of history.
Now, these two teams are the only two teams in the Super Bowl era who have existed for the entire Super Bowl era and have never been to the Super Bowl.
So how's the fan base in Detroit?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy? So Cleveland too, they have a fantastic fan base, and you're just kind of like, why? But they do.
If the Lions ever win, that fanboy is just going to go.
Get that look off your face. Yeah. He's taking his headphones off. What?
Browns fans get drunk before noon. How is that a good fan?
What's wrong with that as a football fan? I'm saying I wouldn't do that, but I feel like that kind of makes your fan base better. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think for sure. I mean, if you've got to go out and watch what they're putting on the field, why wouldn't you get drunk?
If there was an excuse to get drunk before something, that might be one of the better excuses. I'm not condoning that. I wouldn't do it personally, but...
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Anyway, I had some questions here, but... I'm going to go in and we'll see what...
Wait. I'm still waiting on the circus peanut.
Oh, what's better than the circus peanut?
No, I mean, don't you have any?
No, I did not bring any circus peanuts. I try to mix things up from week to week. I don't really want to, keep doing the same things over and over that are working.
Once you hit on something that works...
just keep bringing
it's
circus peanuts.
It's worth sticking to it.
I mean, I could bring... get a 1 pound bag of circus peanuts and it would last us to the end of the year here. Someone told me you ate 6 circus peanuts. So, how much do you think one circus peanut weighs?
Less than a pound.
I
have no idea.
How many grams? How many grams are in a pound? How many ounces? How many grams are in an ounce?
How that works.
And how many ounces are in a pound? 16 ounces in a pound.
Okay, sure. I believe you.
Okay. Here's a question for you.
All right.
How do you think our 3 services went on Sunday? Let's hear it. I'm not going to qualify anymore.
I think they went great.
Yeah.
I don't think it could have gone any better.
It could have gone better, but it was great.
I don't think it could have.
If we had a few more people at the 8:15, it would have been
sure that
even better.
That would have been nice.
Even better. Maybe some of the people from 11 chose to come at 8:15.
Right. But if you had more come to that service, who knows what would have happened in the other services. Yeah. So, I think expectation-wise...
It felt great.
Everybody's expectations were met and exceeded.
Yeah, for sure.
We thought probably, we might get 50 or 60 in that first service, and kind of felt like as long as we get to that 50 number, it won't feel empty because we, blocked off the side sections and took chairs out. So we thought 50 is probably where we need to get for it to not feel empty. and I think we were close to 90.
We were.
Now we have to see what happens, right? Because we did give people gift cards, so we bribed them. And it was the first week, and that's always exciting. So, after Easter, we'll see, how things settle in. But I think the people who came, I think they were pleasantly surprised with the little tweaks that we made that made it more of a vintage feel.
Right.
I think they liked that. And so maybe if they were thinking, hey, I'll come this once and try it out, I think a lot of them will come back because they discovered they actually liked it.
The vast majority of people on Sunday and even yesterday when I talked to some people about it, what are you looking for?
Is there a fly supposed to be on?
Yes, it is. Oh, Matt loses points here.
So, I think it's going to look bad. You're going to be all in shadows. Like, you're going to be like now you're really making it worse.
I'm getting blue. Am I all blue now?
Yeah, you're like
Smurf.
A Smurf villain.
Well, you have that's not really Smurf blue, but... Yeah, but what I was saying, going back to the three services, I said three comments, three services, is that the vast majority of people were like, loved the music, the volume was great for me, loved that, just loved the feeling of the service. It was exciting. I heard a lot of excitement and people, saying those things. So yeah, there are a few people who wanted to do it a different way, but honestly, it's a lot church is a lot of times preference driven for most people. Like you could do one thing one way or another way. You're going to make some people happy. Some people aren't going to like it. That's why there's so many different churches out there. Like you could kind of compare churches to coffee shops. You might prefer one over another, but they're both selling coffee and that's a great thing,
Sure. Yeah. And the reality is whether it's church or a restaurant or anywhere you go. Yeah. If you get two people in the room, one of them is going to be unhappy.
One of them is going to say, "I wish you would have done it this way." Yeah. And that's not saying, "Oh, you're not preaching the gospel," or you're not talking about the Bible or about Jesus. No, all those things are happening, but the things that people prefer one way or another, just might prefer it a different way.
Yeah,
and that's okay. That's a good thing. I personally appreciate when people come up to me and express something that they think could be better, because to me that means they care, and that also means that we have an environment here where people feel comfortable enough to come up to someone and say, hey, I wish you guys could do it this way. Absolutely. Like I'm going to listen. We may not be able to do it because if we can't do everything for everybody.
But sometimes we do make changes.
We do.
Sometimes people will make suggestions and we're able to make the change, and we will. I do think we need to talk about the 11 o'clock service.
We do. That was actually where I wanted to go next. Okay. If you had a couple minutes to talk directly to the people who have come to 11 or are planning to come to 11 because they're back from spring break, what would you say to them? I'm just hitting my microphone too.
All right. So here's the deal. We anticipated. I'm going to talk to them, not you. For a minute, so don't feel bad.
I'm just going to step out of the way.
You can have a circus peanut or something. So if we anticipated from the get-go that the 11 o'clock service would be the most full, and that's primarily because during the 11 o'clock...
Is it the most full or fullest?
I just totally
derailed you. I apologize.
I think you could technically say either.
Yeah.
I think most full is a little bit more refined.
Okay, I like that.
All right. So, anywho, that's primarily because we know that the student ministries meets at 11, and because Area 54 meets at 11. And so parents who have...
4th and 5th grade class.
Yes. Kids in... we don't call it Area 54 anymore, do we?
That word is still thrown around, but I'm just making sure everybody knows what we're talking about.
I got off brand.
That's
there.
okay.
All right. So if somebody has children in 4th through 12th grade, their kids' program is happening at 11, so they're more likely to show up at 11. Now, for those of you who have teenagers, what you ought to be doing is coming as a family at 9:30. You could even do this with 4th and 5th graders.
You need to be doing, right? Because of the future of your teenager.
Well, you should,
right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Ought to. This is a value-based thing. It's not we want to just make space. Like going to church as a family is going to help long-term success for your teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. So
two ex-youth pastors here. Are you ever an ex-youth pastor, though? I guess you're still...
I'm a youthful pastor.
Oh, yes. Very youthful.
Okay, so if your kids in 4th through 12th grade, your kids are capable of sitting through a Sunday morning service. My opinion is that the music is going to be fine for them. They're not going to hate the music.
I think they're going to like it.
Well, I think so too. I'm trying to lay
Okay.
a really low bar.
Okay.
And I think, and obviously my opinion is jaded on this.
Yeah.
I think they can handle the preaching. Mm-hmm. I don't think my sermons are inaccessible for kids.
No.
I think they can learn from them. So, all that to say, if you've got kids, ideally what you're doing is you're coming at 9:30, you're sitting in church together as a family, and then your kids are going to youth and to 4th and 5th grade during the 11 o'clock service, and parents at that point, then you have a choice. You can serve.
Yes.
Or we're going to have a parents group that's going to start up at 11.
At 11, yes. The DeBuskies are going to be doing that, who are awesome couple.
That's going to start in a couple of weeks.
And they have a teenager too.
They do. And, and this is radical, go out for coffee.
Yeah.
Like have an hour where you just hang
Those are
out.
awesome,
There's options there. And so obviously that's awesome because then your kids are going to church with you as a family. That's a cool thing to do at 9:30.
Yeah.
Also,
or say first Sunday of the month, we're all going as family. First and second Sunday of the month, whatever, see how it goes.
Yep. Additionally, there's a benefit for us because now 9:30 has lots of space.
It does.
It's
a good
not,
amount
it's not
of
empty,
space.
but there's room. Like if 20 families moved to 9:30 from 11, we'd have a very nice balance between those two services.
We would.
So that would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be. So. Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. Great point. And we were thinking along the same lines there.
You have a good point too, but you're wearing a hat so nobody can see it.
I'm not even sure why that's funny. It does not funny to me though. My head is pointy. But how is that funny? That's sad.
So I must tell that joke with my kids.
What if I was like self-conscious about that? I have a very nice shaped head, David. My mom told me this.
Okay. So that joke is like a family joke because I tell it so much. Like I'll say, hey, you got a good point there. And then everybody at the family will, but if you wear a hat, nobody will notice. So, that's what dads do.
They say it just like that too.
They do pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Nobody in my family watches the podcast, so I can talk about them as much as I want.
So my wife and daughter, they ditched my son and I and went to Florida. Mm-hmm. So this weekend, we went to the zoo.
The Cincinnati Zoo?
Saturday, yeah. The Cincinnati Zoo on Saturday. You dropped that you guys are ticket holders there, and you gave a train illustration.
Mm-hmm.
Beep, beep.
Yep.
Wait, that was a terrible train noise.
You should have worn your conductor shirt.
My conductor shirt? Yeah, I should have. What was the conductor wearing at the zoo?
I don't think he's wearing anything.
Well, it's usually a lady, isn't it?
No, I've had both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like to drive the train at the zoo?
I don't know.
What? You don't know? If I was working at the train, I'm like, hey sir, would you like to sit in the car, or would you like to be in the front and drive the train? You'd be like, or you'd be like, really?
I'd be like, yeah. So it's not like you can go anywhere.
Matt's losing his mind right now. He loves trains.
I like trains, but I like to ride on the train because I like to look around.
I would be like, let's see how fast this thing can go.
Yeah. Have you ever been on?
So we derail it because you go straight, right? You go past the wolves, and then you take this turn over this bridge, like kind of by the flamingos. Mm-hmm. That would be where you would figure out if you're going too fast or not.
Because you'd be like,
absolutely, because that's like the first big turn.
Don't you think there's been enough train derailments in Ohio for?
Oh yeah, too soon.
Yeah, too soon.
Yeah, that would be the worst spot to derail to, and it's like the first, so they wouldn't want me driving the train.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Were you going somewhere with all this? Okay.
I was.
All right.
What's your favorite exhibit at the zoo? Please don't say the lions. They get too much.
No.
They get too much.
Yeah. All right.
Press anyway.
So I think I have two answers for
Okay.
this. Like, generally, I really like monkeys.
Okay.
I like to watch the monkeys. I'm not scared of them like you are.
I'm not scared of them when they're behind a cage.
You're scared of the ones in India.
Well, you would be too if you saw them. Believe me, you would be afraid of them.
So anyway, I think monkeys are. Although I'm not sure the ones at the Cincinnati Zoo. They don't have enough. They need more.
They do need more.
But they're getting more, so that's a good thing.
Oh, really?
They are. So I actually.
What about those like ones that have the weird like pink butt? Are those ones strange? They're so weird to me. It's like a orangutan or something.
I don't know.
Why? God, why? Why did you create that?
Because he's got a sense of humor, right? I mean, so at the Cincinnati Zoo, I kind of like the giraffes.
Okay, yeah, it's a really nice exhibit.
It is. I just think it's cool to watch them. Like they're so tall and they eat, but you can also stand up on that balcony and they come
tall?
right up
Their
to you.
necks are so long. That's still considered.
Well, that's all part of your
height.
I mean, we don't stop measuring you like here. Right?
Well, if I had a short neck, you might.
No.
Some people have. Some people have really long necks, and what if there is a giraffe so I like the Okra. It's kind of like it's a horse.
Yeah. It's
a zebra.
Right. Yeah.
And a giraffe all in one.
So that whole path that goes from there back to where the hippos are, that's the best part of the zoo. Because that's cool there. But then the dingoes, I don't know if they're really called the dingoes. The wild dogs.
Oh yeah, those are painted dogs. They're called the painted dogs.
I call them the dingoes.
Yeah, it's probably what they might call it.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's not a dingo.
I don't know if it is or not.
Well, it's Australian. Yeah. Dingoes are Australian, so I don't know.
You know, it's like the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
Where
Dingo ate my baby.
The dingo ate your baby.
Yep.
Which is actually a fascinating. Do you know the story behind that?
Of why she said maybe a dingo ate you. I can't remember.
So there's this woman in Australia who's out camping and leaves her baby in a tent, and then they go back to the tent and the baby's gone.
Whoa.
And they go looking for it and they find its clothes. And so then she actually goes on trial for murder. And her thing is, I didn't kill my baby. The dingo took my baby. Recently,
were the clothes bloody?
I don't know all the details. I do think they've recently found more evidence that indicates that actually the dingo did take her baby. But
wow.
Anyways, that's kind of
I
dark.
didn't realize that was the case, and I heard right as you were telling that story, the thunder rolled in too.
But also in that part of the zoo, you've got the little meerkats.
I love the meerkats.
So I mean, that pathway, that's the best part.
Their exhibit isn't the greatest, in my opinion, but they're awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you were out in I don't know if it was South Dakota or Colorado or something, when you were taking your son or picking up your son, what were those?
The prairie dogs?
Prairie dogs.
So that's actually, it's in Utah.
Oh, Utah.
It's at the welcome station. So when you go from Wyoming into Utah, there's a welcome station right there.
Did you get to feed them?
You can. They're just, it's just wild. I mean, you just go out. So the welcome station is really cool because you can walk out and there's these big red cliffs and then there's just these prairie dogs and they are everywhere. So we actually time our whole trip so that we always spend a night in Wyoming right on the border.
Yeah.
And there's this breakfast place we eat there that's really awesome. And that way we can get up first thing in the morning and drive across the border into Utah and stop at the Welcome Center and see the prairie dogs.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you avoid the crowds too doing that?
There's not. It's
just a Welcome Center.
Okay. The rest areas out west are a lot better than they are here.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Other than Nebraska. Not so great.
Nebraska's bad.
Iowa has really nice rest areas, but then Wyoming has cool ones. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Moving on.
What do you want people to be thinking about before this Sunday? So what is this Sunday?
It's Easter.
It's Easter.
Yeah. So let's run down. So if you're a part of the gathering, I mean honestly, if you're part of any church, what are you thinking about as you get ready for Easter? Well, obviously the big thing is this is the big day for us.
Yeah.
It's the day we remember the resurrection. And as you get ready for that, it's good to spend some time thinking about, why did Jesus die? Why was he willing to die? What did he do for me? But how does the resurrection change things for me? And we'll talk about all that on Sunday. We'll talk about, this idea of death to life and why that's important to us. But as I'm thinking specifically about church, right? So a couple things to think about. Number one, I ought to invite somebody.
Okay.
Because people are more likely to respond to an Easter invitation than any other time during the year.
And a personal Easter invitation, right?
Yes, yeah. So a personal Easter invitation is really important. If you're coming to the gathering, a couple things. Number one, get here early. Because it's going to fill up. Yeah. So you want to get a good seat.
9:30, you don't want to get here too early, though.
Well, if you're before
'cause-
the other service gets out, I mean, you can get a donut, right?
Well, I'm just saying, parking, we don't want people here way too early.
Because
because if the service hasn't got out and we got a lot of people coming here really early.
So you should be walking in 10
Yeah.
minutes before the service. That sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
So remember this. Sometimes people forget this. A 9:30 service does not mean pull into the parking lot at 9:30.
Yes.
It means, in the building, in your seat by 9:30. So
Yeah. The next service, it doesn't matter as much. It's just the timeline isn't quite
Yeah,
as tight. So
right.
11, show up.
it might
Early's
matter.
fine.
It might matter. on Easter.
Okay.
I'd say shoot for that 10 to 15 minute spot.
Okay, yeah.
But when you get here, sit down in front, scoot all the way in.
Can I
Yes,
talk
I
to
want
that
you
too?
to. Yes.
So if you come here to the gathering, you know that we've been very full for a long time now, and we are putting more measures in place because we want everyone to be able to have the best experience on Sunday they can, especially our new people. We have to seat really efficiently because otherwise people have to sit in the overflow. And if that's full, then we have we don't have great options. So if you're coming, just be kind to each other, be polite, be respectful, and understand we're doing it for a great reason.
Yeah. So there's a really good likelihood if you're in the 9:30 or the 11 o'clock service that you're actually going to be sitting next to somebody.
Yeah.
Or very close to somebody. So
Right.
the two things everybody should wear.
Yeah.
A smile.
And
deodorant.
Yeah.
Clothes would also be good.
Clothes, yes.
Clothes
Let's
are
put
good
number
three.
3. We'll go say number 3,
Yes.
clothes.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to
All
be
right.
your Easter best, but it just clothes will work.
Yeah. Right. So what else? So be here early.
Be here
invite
early.
A friend.
Invite a friend.
Sit. We're gonna see. So
We're
you
gonna
don't have
see
to worry
you.
about that. But talk to people.
Yeah.
Just be,
If you're in the worship center early, turn around. Just say, hey, I do this every Sunday, but it is, I love doing it. I love introducing myself to people, but I always say, hey, I'm Steve. I'm not sure if we had a chance to meet. If I don't know, because, there's a lot of new people here.
Yep.
I don't even know if, I may have met you and just not remembered your face. It's possible.
Right. So if you're a human and another being near you is also a human, you probably have something in common.
Yes.
So a fun game to play is, what do we have in common?
What do we have in common?
Because you can probably, if they're a human and you're a human, you can probably find something. Now, if they're not a human, you might not. If they're a dingo, stay away from them.
Are we allowed to bring our dingoes to church on Sunday?
On Easter, yeah.
What? Do not do that.
Dingoes welcome. Why not?
Where would we seat someone with a dingo?
They got to keep the dingo under their seat.
Under the seat. If your dingo
Yeah.
can sit under your seat, then
Right,
bring
yeah.
your dingo. Okay.
Yeah. If he's well behaved.
Right. We don't want any dingoes snatching babies, though, because some people might bring
Well,
their
dingoes
baby
are
in.
not welcome in the nursery,
Okay.
but they can go anywhere else.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
That-
I think I'm done with that question. I think I need to be
nailed
done.
it. Good
I
job.
need to be done with
Good
that
job.
question.
Good job. Okay. Next question here. Is your Easter sermon, as you're getting ready for it, is that harder to prepare than, let's say, any other service that you have, that your sermon that
Yeah.
you're preparing for?
Actually, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
And I'm actually, so
Do you change it from year to year?
I do.
Because Easter happens every year,
It does.
right?
It does. So, yeah, so I'll get into that in a second. So there's one part of the equation that makes it more difficult, which is there's a little bit more pressure.
Yeah.
And that's probably pressure I'm putting on myself.
Right.
Because that on Easter, there are going to be people at church. That's going to be the one time they hear the gospel,
Yes.
like maybe for the whole year.
Yeah.
And so I want to be clear that, that they hear about Jesus.
Yes.
So in that sense, there's a little bit more pressure. But
I'm
having
saying
said that,
any Sunday someone comes here, they're going to hear about Jesus.
I hope so.
They do,
I
yeah.
I try really hard to make
do a very good
part
job
of
of
every
that.
sermon that they're going to know about Jesus.
Yeah, even Old Testament stuff that we do.
for sure.
We talk about Jesus.
Yep. Yeah. What makes the Easter sermon a little easier is that it preaches itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Jesus rose from the dead.
Right.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So what I do is I don't preach the same sermon every year. I actually have a little bit of a rotation.
Yeah.
So one year I will do more of an apologetic type Easter
Okay.
sermon, which is where I'm going to, and that's this year,
Okay.
is where I'm going to talk more about, here's how we can have confidence that Jesus actually rose from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take different approaches. Like a couple of years ago, I talked about, miracles and can we believe in miracles
Yeah.
and why? And then you move into the Easter miracle. Now, the other things I'll do is maybe one time I'll talk about, just the idea of what does resurrection mean personally for us? And I might not get as much into the historical stuff and the textual stuff, but what does resurrection mean? And like last year, we actually talked about Lazarus because we were going through the New Testament. That's where we landed. And so we actually talked about a different resurrection, and then we applied it to Jesus.
Yeah.
So
Did we plan it to be that way, or did it just happen that we were
it worked out.
Okay.
That we were pretty close to John 11
Okay.
at that point in the year. So there's
bonus points that you knew?
well-
you knew the chapter.
that was one of the things when we were deciding to do the New Testament in
Yeah.
2022 was, as I was deciding, is this a good idea or not? I did look at like some of the major days and say, okay, where are we going to be, at Easter? Where are we going to be at Christmas? Those kinds of things. So that worked out well. So yeah, I like the Easter sermon. It's fun. It doesn't take quite as much prep time because it's like you said, it's the same every year.
Yes.
So it's more about, I get to work more on presentation than on kind of diving into the text because I can go back and pull notes from past years.
Okay, great. So Matt's on his cell phone right now. I'm calling him out. Oh no, wait, what is that? He's not on his phone. He tricked me.
This is really bad TV right now.
Why? Why is this bad
Because
TV?
they can't see him.
I know. I think that's funny. I think it's funny that we can talk about Matt. I mean, we could say, put your shirt back on, Matt. Why'd you take your shirt off?
That's
And
good
then
TV.
no one would know.
That's much better.
Is it hot in here or something? I don't know. It's just got weird. No. Did you have a question for us at the end? See, John didn't last week. And then we don't
I
have
feel
one.
like we're
So
having
I
to
have
carry
one.
this thing.
We are carrying this thing. I actually have a question because I kind of thought we wouldn't have one. Okay. So I got one for you. I got a question. I know I dropped a heavy one on you last week. This one is not as heavy. It's along the topic, but and I'm going to say this in it in a silly way, but I understand the importance of it, but I'm going to say it. So why is the cross so important? Why is Jesus' death on the cross so important? What's the deal with it? Why should we care so much?
Yeah.
Why is that such a big deal? Why is Easter such a big deal?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's obviously, we could spend hours talking about.
I think I want it. I'm thinking fairly simple, fairly short on it. Like,
So-
why is that important?
So here's just, to really boil it down.
Would you say that's the most important piece of the Bible? Like if we were to take one piece out and say, what's the thing that what is the most important?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
The resurrection is the most important.
Yeah.
That's the most.
So would you separate those two things?
Well, you can't.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
I think they're the same within those 3 days. That's one event to me.
So we would refer to that as the passion, right?
Yeah.
The passion of Jesus is his final week.
Yeah.
And I think, you take the passion, that's the most important. You look at the Gospels and how much, most of the Gospels are dealing with 3 years of Jesus' life.
Yeah.
And yet, I don't know the exact numbers, but most of them devote about half to his final week.
Right.
Out of 3 years, 1 week.
Yeah.
So that's how important it is. So what's the deal with the cross?
Yeah.
To get away from a lot of the theological stuff that, we go into like redemption, justification, ransom, restitution, all that stuff that's really super important.
Churchy words.
Here, it's as simple as this. To defeat death, one must die. So if Jesus' whole purpose in coming was to defeat death, and it was, because death is the ultimate consequence of sin, and to rescue us from death, but to defeat death, you must die, because that's how you have the resurrection. So death is necessary for the resurrection. Now, was it necessary that he die on a cross? That's a really fascinating question, right?
Yeah.
Now, it was because that was the plan all along. And even in the Old Testament, like as early as, when the children of Israel are out in the wilderness and the snakes are all coming and biting them, and they lift up that snake, even that is prefiguring the cross. So it's a part of God's plan all along.
Can you explain how it's prefiguring the cross?
Yeah, well, Jesus did in John 3.
Yeah.
So he says to Nicodemus, who's a rabbi, understands the law, just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so will the Son of Man be lifted up. So Jesus makes it clear.
So not necessarily the snake itself, but the act of doing that.
So here's the picture.
Yeah.
In the Old Testament, what's going on, if you don't know this story, the snakes come into the camp. And they're biting all of the Israelites, and they're poisonous, and they're killing them. And this is a response to their grumbling and their complaining against God. So they cry out, "Save us!"
Yeah.
And so God says to Moses, "Okay, make this snake and put it up on a pole and stick it up in the camp where everybody can see it. And anybody who just looks at it will not die from the snake bites." Which is kind of cool because it's like, okay, they're not doing anything. There's no work involved. There's no act involved. It's simply, I believe that snake somehow is going to save me, which is the same as us with Jesus. I believe that somehow Jesus' death is sufficient to save me from the consequences of my sin.
Right. And there's parallels there because, sin in our life is destructive, right? Whether you say that, sin will lead you to, separation from God or not. Sin is harmful and hurtful and is a bad thing. So, like the act of being able to overcome that, like we can't do it on our own, right?
Right. So in his death, Jesus fully experienced all of the consequences, all of the results of what sin does to creation. And then he rose again to defeat it. Yeah. So it's all been defeated. Now it's just a matter of us waiting until we get the final ultimate inheritance.
Yeah. So. And ultimately, if Jesus had died on the cross and that was it, then
it's meaningless.
Totally meaningless.
Yeah.
As Christians, there's no reason to be a Christian anymore.
Yeah. Well, we'll hit that actually on Sunday.
Okay. Teaser for Sunday.
So 1 Corinthians 15, where Paul says, if there's no resurrection, then we above all people are to be pitied.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's no point.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, thanks for, spending some time here this morning and talking about your sermon. Did you have something else?
Well, before we do this again, you need to talk to my people, and we got to figure this circus peanuts
thing out. Okay.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Okay.
Are there any different flavors of circus peanuts?
I hope not.
I feel like there could be a market there. I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today at our podcast. Maybe we'll have circus peanuts back here another time.
I have a feeling we won't.
Okay.
But
I did not like the circus peanuts.
Maybe you can try to come up with something that is unexpected and better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right.
It's a lot of pressure.
If you have suggestions for Steve, you can put them in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this video.
Oh, yeah.
You got to say all that stuff.
Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That is wonderful, and we appreciate it.
All right.
See ya.